Hi, this is Davy, me again. So let's talk about closure today. What is really closure? Closure is a concept in JavaScript that basically explains the fact that you have two functions. A parent function, let me write that here, a parent function, I'm giving it a capital letter just to highlight the concept here, but usually I don't write functions with capital letter unless they serve as constructor, but we don't do that today anymore because we use classes, okay? So you have parent, and the parent should return a function that here I'm just gonna call like the child function, right? So you have already two functions. The main thing is already, there are two things you need to take into account when you talk about closure. The first one is the parent should return a function, right? I call it the child here because it's inside, but in a raw sense, parent return a function, right? So then the thing is, whatever argument are available at the parent level, it could be this argument, let's say this one here, or the parent has declared a variable right there. These variables, if at some point the child makes use of it, right? So let's say, for example, here we have a console log of args, and let's say in here we're pushing one value. What's going to happen is the fact that when the parent is being called, what the child is going to do, so when the parent is being called, the child is going to capture whatever the parent has. And so if I go here, I say result, and I call parent, and I give it 1 or 2 here, and I go, what is res? You see that res here, it says it is a function. So if I call res, write this like this, and I pass, I don't need to pass anything because child doesn't take any argument. So the main thing that you gotta take from here is the fact that now, if you look at what we have here, it says undefined here, but actually what you could, for example, say, let's return R, and we're going to see that, yeah, the push has happened, and then the console log here is showing 2, right? So something actually interesting is happening there is the fact that on line 17, the parent has been called, so it's kind of disappeared already, right? And the child, what the child did, it actually captured the information the parent had. Even when the parent is gone, this information are still available to the child. Now look at this. I'm going to take that same piece of code and run that in the browser, so I will show you a different way of seeing it. So let's take our browser over here. I'm just gonna write that function here. Hopefully you can see it really well, and just run that like this. So now we have okay, there's no TypeScript in the browser, so we're going to do it this way. So we're going to remove this argument and then just call it this way. Now look at this. I have a function, a parent, and then it's been called here. Actually, one of the things I'm going to do is put a debugger at the child level, right? Just put a debugger here. Now when I run parent, I call parent right here, and I pass, for example, the value 2. What I would like to do is actually to store it somewhere. So here, basically what I get in return, I get the child, right? So that's basically what we have in the code. Now, like no breaks, right? Because we haven't called the child. Now look what's gonna happen when I call the child. Here, it's going to break, and now when we look into the break, so that's the part that is really important for you to understand right here, is the fact that at some point, you see, it talks about the fact that, yeah, it has some local variable, like inside the child, this, right? This, we're going to talk about this in one of the videos, in one of the fundamentals video. So if you want to watch our series about fundamentals concept, just subscribe here and make sure that we land that in your inbox whenever it's ready. then you see that there are local variables, but there are also on the right below on the scope, there is something called closure, right? And you see that closure, the child has captured variables from his parent, args, and the array. And then if you keep on going, you're going to see that indeed the array add one element in there. But actually, if you go in the console and you're trying to type, you're trying to search for parent here is so that's the function, but it's actually not available anymore in that scope. So the way you can check that, you can go into watch and then you add parent. You see there it says a parent is being called, but actually when we call parent, we call it we pass it into we pass that into child, and now we see right below that the closure has closed around these two variables. So even though parent has been executed, the scope of parent is gone, we still have access to these two things, right? So that is actually a fundamental concept in JavaScript. But I want to show you that in a way you can use it, right? Let's go back to this example. This example, we have the function add. We add two things in there, and then when I add 2 and 3, you're going to see that it basically return 5. Okay. Now, one of the things you could do here is to leverage this idea of closure by writing this way. So instead of saying give me the 2 arguments right away, what we're going to do is to say this thing takes only 1 argument, right? And then it's going to return a function, and that itself will take another argument, and then this one's gonna return x plus y, right? So what I just did there, so it's complaining because it expects this thing to return a function, and that itself returns something, right? A value. So I'm just gonna say here, this one return a number, and this one takes a number, right? So that's what we get right below when we use it. So now below here, when I run add 2, I see indeed that, yeah, it's just adding this thing here, but it's just a function, and now I can pass 3 this way. So now I just use this concept of closure to make it happen, but some people can also look at it and say, hey, this is the idea of partial function, right? We're going to look at it in the next video, but closure, in short, you have a parent that basically return a function, and that function there, which is the child, capture information from the parent. And once again, if they don't capture it, nothing happens. There is no closure anymore there because the child didn't capture anything from the parent. That's it for today. If you want to learn how to write this kind of code using test-driven development, head on hackages.io. We have amazing exercises on our platform. Until tomorrow, take care. Bye.